My own child left me on the streets of Dubai like I was trash. Had nothing. No money. No phone. Nothing. But then a rich sheikh found me and said words I never expected to hear. Hello everyone. Thanks for being here. Leave a comment telling me which country you're watching from. I want to know how many people hear my words. My name is Margaret. I am 64 years old. I never thought I would sleep outside in a strange land. Cold. Tired. Alone. My son did this to me. The boy I gave everything to. This trip to Dubai was supposed to be special. Tyler told me we needed family time together. His girlfriend Rachel smiled and agreed. She said I worked too hard my whole life. She said I needed to rest and enjoy myself. I believed them. I trusted my own son. We stayed at a beautiful hotel called the Atlantis. Cost so much money. Tyler insisted he would handle all the payments. Don't worry about anything, Mom, he kept saying. You deserve this vacation after raising me by yourself. Those words made me so happy. Finally, my boy appreciated all my hard work. Finally, I had a real family that cared about me. How wrong I was. That morning, I woke up with a terrible headache. My body felt weak. The hot weather and fancy food made me sick. I told Tyler and Rachel during breakfast. They looked at each other in a strange way. Rachel touched my hand softly. You should stay in the room and rest, she said sweetly. We'll go shopping and bring you back a pretty gift. I gave Tyler my bank card. He was my son. Why wouldn't I trust him? Buy something nice for yourselves too, I said. I kissed his cheek like when he was little. Later that day I felt better. I wanted to find them and join their shopping trip. I went down to the front desk and asked where my son went. The man behind the desk looked uncomfortable. He wouldn't look at my eyes. Ma'am, your son and his girlfriend left this morning. They checked out of the hotel. They said you already left too. My whole body went cold. That can't be right. I've been upstairs all day in my room. The desk man showed me a paper. Tyler had spent almost $9,000 on my bank card. Expensive meals, spa treatments, shopping bags full of clothes. Everything charged to my card. Then he left. Where are my things? Yes. My voice was shaking. They took all the suitcases with them. They told us you were meeting them at the airport to fly home. I just stood there in that fancy lobby. Rich people walked past me. I wore only a thin dress. That's all I had. No passport. No phone. No wallet. No money. Nothing. This has to be a mistake, I kept saying. But deep inside I knew the truth. My son had planned this. He stole from me and left me behind like garbage. The hotel boss was nice, but he had rules. Without money or a card, I couldn't stay even one more night. Tyler used my card until no money was left. When they tried to charge more, it didn't work. Maybe you can call your family, the boss suggested kindly. But how could I call anyone? Had no phone. And my only family just threw me away. They left me in a country so far from home. As the sun went down, I walked the streets of Dubai. My thin dress didn't keep me warm when the wind blew. Everything around me looked like a dream. Tall buildings touched the sky. Fancy cars drove by. Happy tourists laughed and talked. But I was invisible. Nobody saw me. Felt like a ghost. I had never felt so alone. Not even when Tyler's father ran away from us when Tyler was just 4 years old. That man left us with bills we couldn't pay and a broken heart. But back then I had my baby boy to take care of. That gave me a reason to keep fighting. Now that same baby boy threw me away like I meant nothing. Felt so unfair. I spent 34 years doing everything for Tyler. I worked as a cleaner in hospitals. I worked day shifts and night shifts. Sometimes I skipped eating so Tyler could have food. I wore old clothes with holes so Tyler could have new shoes. I said no to dates. I said no to job offers in other cities. A kind man named George wanted to marry me, but I said no. I thought Tyler needed me more than I needed happiness. And this is what I got for all that sacrifice. Hours went by. My stomach hurt from hunger. I hadn't eaten since morning. My legs felt like rubber. I found a bench near a bus stop and sat down. I tried to think of what to do next. Some people saw an old woman sitting alone. They tried to help. But we couldn't understand each other's words. How do you tell someone your own child stole everything and left you behind? How do you say those words without crying? Night came to Dubai like a blanket covering everything. The bench was hard and cold. Every time I started to fall asleep, cars drove by or people walked past talking loudly. I kept thinking about Tyler when he was small. He used to climb into my bed when storms came. He would whisper, "I love you, mommy," and hug me tight. What happened to that sweet boy? Where did I go wrong? How did he become someone so cruel? When morning came, I was so tired, so hungry, so sad. My hair was messy. My dress was dirty and wrinkled. I saw myself in a store window. I didn't recognize the woman looking back at me. That's when I saw him. A tall man walked toward me. He had gray hair and wore expensive clothes. His eyes were kind. Something about him made me sit up straight. I don't know why. He walked slowly, like he didn't want to scare me. When he spoke, his voice had an accent. It sounded foreign but also familiar somehow. "Excuse me," he said gently. "Are you okay?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to pretend everything was fine. Instead, tears poured down my face. I told this stranger everything. About Tyler. About the stealing. About sleeping on a bench all night in a country I didn't know. About having no way to get home. He listened to every word. He didn't interrupt. His face got more and more worried as I talked. When I stopped talking, he was quiet for a long time. He looked at my face very carefully, like he was trying to remember something. Then he said words that made my heart stop beating. "It's always good to meet an old love again, Margaret." I stared at this man. My heart was pounding so hard. How did he know my name? The way he said old love made my skin feel cold. But I couldn't remember his face. I couldn't remember ever meeting him before. "I'm sorry," I said. My voice was shaking. "Do I know you?" He smiled, but it was a sad smile. "You don't remember me. Guess that makes sense. It was 42 years ago. And I look very different now. 42 years ago. I tried to remember back to 1983. I was 22 years old then. Tyler was just a baby. Those were the hardest years of my life. Working all the time. No money. Raising a child alone. "My name is Khaled," he said softly. "Dr. Khaled Mansour. But when you knew me, I was just a young medical student. I couldn't speak English very well. I missed my home so much." The name hit me like lightning. Khaled. Sweet, shy Khaled who used to sit in the hospital break room looking so lost and sad. We started talking one night when I found him crying over his books. He was frustrated because English was hard. He missed his family far away. "Oh my goodness," I whispered. My hand covered my mouth. "Khaled. But you look so different now." He laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. 42 years of sun and hard work changes a person. Plus I was very skinny back then. All bones and worry. I remembered now. He had been thin, almost sick-looking. He wore thick glasses and smiled shyly. This man in front of me was strong and confident. His glasses were gone. His eyes were sharp and alert. But when he smiled just right, I could see the young student I once knew. "What are you doing here?" I asked. My brain was still trying to understand. "I live here now. Have lived here for 32 years. I went back to Dubai after I finished medical school in America. God has blessed me more than I deserve." He pointed to a shiny black car parked nearby. A driver waited inside. "I've built many hospitals. Started businesses. Things have gone well for me." My head was spinning. The struggling student I knew had become what? Rich. Powerful. His clothes looked expensive. He had a driver. He carried himself like someone important. "But you," he said. His face looked worried again. "What brought you to Dubai? And why are you?" He stopped talking. He didn't want to say out loud what we both knew. That I looked like a homeless person sitting on a bench. I told him everything again. About Tyler's betrayal. About being stuck with no papers and no money. Every word I spoke made his face darker. More angry. "Your own son did this?" he asked. His voice was tight and controlled. He nodded. I couldn't speak. The lump in my throat was too big. After everything you gave up for him. After the way he stopped himself. He shook his head. Sorry. It's not my place to judge your family. What were you going to say? Yes. After the way what? He was quiet for a while. His eyes looked far away. You were working 3 different jobs when I knew you. Always exhausted. Always worried about bills. I used to watch you in the break room. You would fall asleep sitting up during your breaks. You had that little boy. So small. And you were doing everything alone. The memories came flooding back like water. Those terrible months after Tyler's father left. When I was struggling just to survive. Khaled had been there during the worst time of my life. But I was too proud to let anyone help me. Too overwhelmed to let anyone get close. I remember you bought me coffee once, I said quietly. My paycheck was late. I hadn't eaten for 2 days. You said it was because I helped you with your English homework. But really, he finished. Really, I was falling in love with you. The words hung in the air between us. Falling in love. We had been friends. Study partners. 2 people who happened to meet. Right. Khaled, I started to say. Please, he said. He held up his hand. Let me help you first. We can talk about old times later. But right now you need food and rest and clean clothes. My driver will take us to my house. You can shower and eat a real meal. Then we'll figure out how to get you home to America. Part of me wanted to say no. I had been independent my whole life. Taking care of myself. Taking care of everyone else. Accepting help felt like giving up. But I was exhausted and hungry and stuck far from home. Being proud was something I couldn't afford anymore. Okay, I said quietly. Thank you. He helped me stand up. He was so gentle. When was the last time someone treated me with such kindness? Certainly not my own son. The ride to his house felt like a dream. The car was more comfortable than anything I'd ever been in. Leather seats felt like sitting on clouds. The air conditioning slowly warmed my cold body. Khaled sat next to me. He asked gentle questions about my life, my work, my health. He was still the kind, caring man I remembered. But now he also seemed powerful, like someone who was used to being in charge. You never got married? He asked at one point. I shook my head. Almost did a few times. But I shrugged. Tyler always came first. He needed a stable home. I thought bringing a new man into our lives would make things harder. Something flashed across Khaled's face, but he didn't say anything. When we drove through big fancy gates and up a long driveway, I gasped. His house was like a palace. All white stone and beautiful arches. Fountains and gardens that looked like pictures from magazines. This wasn't just being rich. This was being royalty. Khaled, I said slowly. What exactly do you do now? He smiled. For a moment, he looked exactly like the shy student I once knew. I'm what people call a sheikh. Though the title doesn't mean as much as it used to. What matters is I have enough money to help you. And more importantly, I want to help you. When we got out of the car, workers appeared. They treated me with the same respect they showed Khaled. Even though I looked messy and dirty. He spoke to them in Arabic, talking fast. Within seconds, a woman was leading me toward what she said was my bedroom. Rest, Khaled said gently. Tomorrow we'll start making plans for you to go home. And Margaret, he paused. His eyes looked into mine. I'm glad God brought you back to me. Even though the reason is sad. As I followed the worker through hallways filled with beautiful paintings, my mind raced with questions. What did he mean by brought me back to him? And why did I feel like meeting Khaled again was going to change everything? I woke up in a bed softer than anything I'd ever felt. Silk curtains surrounded me. I could hear fountains outside my window. For a second I forgot where I was. Forgot everything that happened. Then reality came crashing back. And with it, the memory of Khaled's words from last night. Someone knocked softly on the door. Come in, I called. I pulled the soft robe tighter around me. A young woman came in carrying a tray. Tea and pastries. She smiled warmly. She set the tray on a small table by the window. Mr. Khaled asks if you will join him in the garden when you're ready, she said. Her English had an accent. There is no hurry. Take your time. After she left, I stood at the window. I looked out at the most beautiful garden I'd ever seen. Palm trees moved in the breeze. Colorful flowers bloomed everywhere. Pools of water sparkled in the sun. It looked like something from a fairy tale. Except the pain in my chest reminded me this wasn't a happy story. I was here because my son threw me away. I spent the night thinking about Khaled, trying to remember everything from 42 years ago. We knew each other for maybe 7 months. He was doing a rotation at the hospital where I worked. He had been so young, so far from his home, struggling with school and the English language. I helped him learn medical words. He helped me by what? At the time I thought we were just friends. But looking back now I could see the signs. I was just too busy and too overwhelmed to notice. The way his face lit up when he saw me in the break room. How he always saved a seat for me. The little presents he brought. Flour from outside. A candy when he noticed I skipped lunch. The way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't watching. I was so focused on surviving. On taking care of Tyler. On keeping us from drowning in bills. I missed what was right in front of me. After I bathed and dressed in the lovely clothes that appeared in my size, I walked to the garden. Khaled sat at a table under a covering. Flowers grew on vines above him. He stood up when he saw me. I was struck again by how different he looked from the young man I knew. You look well rested, he said. He pulled out a chair for me. Did you sleep okay? Better than I have in a long time, I admitted. Khaled, this is all so amazing. Our house. Everything. I can barely believe it's real. He poured tea from a beautiful silver pot. It is real. Though sometimes I have trouble believing it too. When I left Chicago in 1986, I had nothing except my medical degree. And a broken heart. My hand froze halfway to my teacup. A broken heart. He was quiet for a while. He stared at his tea like it had answers. I was in love with you, Margaret. Completely in love. I had been from almost the first time we met. The words hit me hard. Khaled, I had no idea. I know you didn't. You were dealing with so many problems. And I was just a foreign student with nothing. How could I tell you I loved you when you were working yourself to death just to survive? What could I give you? I was living on student loans. Eating cheap noodles for every meal. I put down my teacup. My hands were shaking. Why didn't you tell me? I tried once. Do you remember the night before my rotation ended? We were in the break room. You were telling me about your dreams. How you wanted to become a better nurse someday. You looked so tired. So worn down by everything you carried alone. The memory came rushing back. It was late. Maybe around midnight. We were studying together. Or really, I was helping him prepare for his big test. He seemed nervous that night. Fidgety. Not like himself. You started to say something, I said slowly. But then my beeper went off. There was a problem in the children's ward. A little boy having trouble breathing, he said softly. You ran to help. By the time you came back, I couldn't find the courage anymore. The next morning I was gone. You just disappeared. I tried to find you to say goodbye. They told me you already left. I always wondered what happened to you. He reached across the table. He gently took my hand. His skin was warm. I could feel rough spots that showed he still worked hard despite his money. I couldn't say goodbye to you properly. I knew if I looked in your eyes one more time, I wouldn't be able to leave. And I had to leave. My family expected me to come home. To do my duty here. What duty? My father owned several businesses, including a small hospital. I was his only son. It was my job to take over everything. I came back to Dubai and worked hard. Tried to forget you. But I never could. I stared at him, trying to understand what he was saying. You thought about me all these years. Every single day. His thumb rubbed gentle circles on the back of my hand. I built my first hospital thinking of you. Though nobody knew. I named the children's section after you. Margaret's Garden. But I told everyone it was named after my grandmother. Every time I walked through those halls, I thought about how you would have loved working there. How your kindness would have touched so many children. Tears rolled down my face. Khaled, I got married once, he continued. His voice got heavy. A woman my family chose. She was beautiful and educated. From a good family. I thought I could learn to love her. That it would be enough. But I couldn't give her my whole heart. 'Cause you still had it. She knew. After 4 years, she left me for a man who could love her properly. I'm so sorry. He shook his head. Don't be. She found happiness. And I learned that some hearts can only love one person their whole life. After that, I focused on work. On building something important. I grew the hospital. Opened 2 more. Invested in medical research. I told myself it was enough to have that purpose. And now, he lifted my hand to his lips. He kissed my palm gently. Now I learn that the woman I never stopped loving has been struggling alone all these years. While her own son treats her like trash. It breaks my heart, Margaret. You deserved so much better than what life gave you. I pulled my hand away. Suddenly, everything felt like too much. This is crazy, Khaled. 42 years have gone by. We're different people now. I'm 64 years old. My son hates me. I have nothing to give you. You have everything to give me, he said firmly. You're still the woman who worked 3 jobs to support her child. Still the woman who stayed late to help a struggling foreign student learn English. Still the woman who chose sacrifice over selfishness every single day. That's who you are, Margaret. Not what your son did to you. Before I could answer, his phone buzzed. He looked at it and frowned. It's my assistant. Something urgent at the hospital. He looked at me apologetically. Sorry. I need to take this call. We'll talk more when I get back. He nodded. I needed time to think anyway. As he walked away speaking fast in Arabic, I sat in that beautiful garden. I tried to make sense of my feelings. Here was a man who loved me for 42 years. Who built an empire while thinking of me every day. Meanwhile, I spent those same 42 years sacrificing everything for a son who threw me away the second it suited him. I thought about all the chances I missed. All because I was afraid to put myself first. George, the store manager who wanted to marry me when Tyler was 13. I said no because I thought it would upset my son. David, the teacher who asked me to dinner when Tyler was in college. I said no because I thought I needed to be available if my son needed me. How many chances for love and happiness did I give up? All for a child who would eventually abandon me on the streets of a foreign country. When Khaled came back 20 minutes later, his face looked troubled. I have some news about your son, he said carefully. My security people have been watching the situation. It appears Tyler and his girlfriend are still in Dubai. They're staying at a hotel downtown. And from what we learned, they're having trouble. What kind of trouble? The bank card they used ran out of money. They can't afford to stay much longer. They don't have enough money for plane tickets home. It seems your son's plan wasn't as smart as he thought. A cold feeling of satisfaction filled my chest. Khaled raised his eyebrow at the hardness in my voice. There's more. They've been trying to contact the American embassy. Claiming their mother is missing. They need help finding her. They seem quite desperate. I laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. Now they want to find me. How convenient. What would you like me to do? Khaled asked quietly. I could have my people tell them you're safe. Or what? Or we could let them worry a little longer. While we decide what happens next. The choice is yours, Margaret. For the first time in 42 years you have all the power. 3 days went by like a beautiful dream. Khaled showed me his world. His hospitals. His charity organizations. The medical schools he built. Everywhere we went, people treated him with deep respect. And they treated me the same way. It was overwhelming and wonderful at the same time. But the quiet moments mattered most. Our morning talks over tea. The way he listened when I spoke about my nursing work. How he remembered tiny details from 42 years ago. He told me about his mother who died 6 years earlier. How she always wondered why he never brought a woman home to meet her. I told her once that my heart lived in America. he said as we walked through the children's section of his newest hospital. She said that was the most romantic and most sad thing she'd ever heard. On the third evening we sat on his terrace. We watched the sunset paint the Dubai sky in gold and pink colors. Khaled grew quiet and serious. "I have something to ask you," he said. He turned to face me. "And I want you to know there's no pressure. If you say no, I'll arrange your flight home tomorrow. You'll never have to see me again if you don't want to." My heart started beating fast. "What is it?" He took my hands in his. I could feel them shaking a little. This powerful man. This sheikh who everyone respected. He was nervous talking to me. "Stay here," he said simply. "Stay in Dubai. Stay with me." I opened my mouth to speak. He held up a hand. "Please let me finish. I know it sounds crazy. I know we just found each other again after 42 years. But Margaret, I never stopped loving you. I never stopped hoping that somehow, someday, God would bring you back to me." "Khaled," I started. "I'm not asking you to marry me tomorrow. Though I would be honored if someday you'd consider it. I'm asking you to give us a chance. Give yourself a chance to be loved the way you deserve. You've spent your whole adult life taking care of everyone else. Let me take care of you for a while." Tears poured down my face. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it. Stay another week. Another month. Let me show you what life could be like here. You could work at the hospital if you wanted. Though you'd never have to work again if you didn't want to. You could travel, study, chase all those dreams you put aside. Or you could simply rest. Let someone else worry about everything for a change." Before I could answer, his phone rang. He looked at it and sighed. "It's my head of security. I should answer this." He walked away to answer. I heard him speaking in fast Arabic. His tone got sharper and sharper. When he came back, his face looked grim. "Your son is at the embassy again. This time he brought news reporters with him. He's claiming you've been kidnapped by dangerous people. He's demanding the American government help find you." I felt my blood get hot. "He what?" "He's telling them his elderly mother disappeared from their hotel. He believes she's been taken by bad people. The story is spreading on social media. The hashtag Find Margaret is trending." I stood up so fast I knocked over my teacup. That manipulative little liar. Khaled's eyebrows went up at my language. But he didn't say anything. "There's more. He set up a fundraising page online, asking for money to help rescue you. He's already collected over $16,000. "Of course he did," I said bitterly. "Even my disappearance becomes a way for him to make money. My security team says the embassy is starting to ask serious questions. Soon they'll want to involve local police. If this continues, it could become a big international problem." Paced across the terrace. My mind was racing. Tyler wasn't just trying to find me now. He was building a public story that made him look like the loving son searching desperately for his missing mother. If I showed up now, would anyone believe the truth? Or would they think I was an old woman who got confused by her kidnappers? "We need to stop this before it gets worse," I said finally. "But I want to do it my way." "What do you have in mind?" I turned to look at him. This man who loved me faithfully for 42 years. While I wasted my love on someone who saw me as nothing more than a source of money. First, I want to see him. I want to look Tyler in the eyes. I want to tell him exactly what I think of him and his terrible girlfriend. And then I paused. I met Khaled's hopeful eyes. "And then I want to accept your offer." His face lit up like the sun. "You mean it?" "Mean it. I've spent 64 years putting everyone else first. It's time I chose happiness for myself." He pulled me into his arms. He kissed me. Gentle and sweet. Full of 42 years of waiting and hoping. When we stopped, I felt like a different woman. Not the exhausted nurse working herself to death. Not the abandoned mother sleeping on park benches. But someone worthy of love and respect. "How do you want to handle your son?" Khaled asked. "Set up a meeting somewhere public. Where he can't make a scene. And I want your security team there recording everything. If he tries to lie about this later, I want proof of what really happened." The next morning, Khaled's assistant called the embassy. They arranged for Tyler and Rachel to meet with me at a neutral place. A conference room at one of Dubai's fanciest hotels. They were told only that I was safe, that I wanted to talk with them. I spent an hour getting ready. Khaled's stylists helped me look my absolute best. I wore a designer dress in deep purple. Real jewelry. Professional makeup. I looked like what I was now. The beloved partner of one of Dubai's most powerful men. When Tyler and Rachel walked into that conference room, their mouths fell open. They expected to find a broken old woman, grateful to be rescued. Instead, they found someone who looked better than she had in years. Sitting next to a man who clearly had wealth and power. "Mom," Tyler said. He sounded uncertain. "Are you okay? We've been so worried about you." "Have you?" asked coldly. "Is that why you stole my bank card and left me on the streets?" His face turned red. "That was a misunderstanding. We thought you were meeting us at the airport. When you didn't come, we got scared." "Stop lying, Tyler. We both know exactly what happened." Rachel stepped forward. Her voice was sweet but fake. "Mrs. Patterson, you look different. Are you sure you're thinking clearly? Sometimes older people get confused about things." "I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years," I said. I stood up. "Clear enough to see you both for what you really are." Tyler's eyes moved to Khaled, clearly trying to figure out the situation. "Who is this man? Has he been keeping you here against your will?" Khaled spoke for the first time. His voice was calm but full of authority. "I am Sheikh Khaled Mansour. Your mother is here as my honored guest. She's free to leave any time she wants." I watched Tyler's face change as he heard the title Sheikh. As he took in Khaled's obvious wealth and status, I could practically see his brain working. "A sheikh," Rachel whispered, her fake worry replaced by obvious greed. "Mom, this is wonderful. Think of all the possibilities." "The only possibility here," I said firmly, "is for you both to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say." I walked around the table. I stood right in front of my son. This man I sacrificed everything for. Who paid me back with betrayal. You stole from me. Abandoned me. Then used my disappearance to steal money from strangers on the internet. You are not my son anymore, Tyler. You're nothing to me. His face went white. "Mom, you don't mean that. We can fix this. I know you're upset. But what? You'll pay me back. You'll promise to be better." How many times have I heard those words from you over the years? I turned to Rachel. She was trying to move closer to Khaled. "And you? Stay away from my future husband." The word husband hung in the air like thunder. Tyler's mouth dropped open. Rachel made a choking sound. "Husband," Tyler repeated. "Mom, you can't be serious. You barely know this man. He could be taking advantage of you." Actually laughed. "Taking advantage of me? That's funny coming from someone who literally stole my bank card and left me homeless." "This is different," he insisted. "You're not thinking straight. You're upset from what happened." "What happened," I said clearly, "is that I finally learned who my real family is. And it's not you." The silence in the conference room was so thick you could cut it. Tyler stared at me like I'd turned into an alien. Rachel's eyes darted between Khaled and me, like a hunter trying to find her next target. "Mom, please," Tyler said. His voice took on that begging tone I'd heard so many times. "I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But don't make quick decisions. This man, this sheikh, he could be manipulating you. You're vulnerable right now." "Vulnerable," I repeated. My voice was dangerously quiet. "The only people who made me vulnerable were you and your girlfriend. When you stole my money and left me on the streets." Khaled placed a gentle hand on my arm. I drew strength from his touch. For 42 years, this man carried love for me in his heart. Meanwhile, the son I devoted my life to was planning to rob me and throw me away. "Perhaps we should discuss practical matters," Khaled said smoothly. "Your hotel bill, for example. I understand you're having money problems." Tyler's face flushed red. "That's temporary. We're working it out. With the $16,000 you collected from your fake missing mother campaign." "Yes." The color left his face completely. How did you? I know everything, Tyler. Every lie you told. Every dollar you stole. Every fake sympathy donation you collected. While I was sleeping on a bench wondering if I'd ever get home. Rachel finally spoke up. Look, we all made mistakes. But we're family. Family forgives each other. Right, Mom? She smiled that sugary smile that always made my skin crawl. I'm sure we can put this behind us and move forward. Especially now that you found such a wealthy friend. The way she said wealthy made my stomach turn. Even now, even after everything, they were already thinking about how to make money from my relationship with Khaled. You're right about one thing, I said. Family does forgive each other. But you're not my family anymore. Don't say that, Tyler begged. I'm your son. I made a mistake. But I'm still your son. No, I said firmly. My son wouldn't have left his mother homeless in a strange country. My son wouldn't have stolen from the woman who worked 3 jobs to put food on the table. My son wouldn't have used my disappearance to steal money while I was suffering. I walked over to where Khaled sat. I took his hand. Our fingers locked together. Strong and reassuring. This man loved me when I had nothing. He remembers the woman I was before years of your selfishness wore me down. He sees value in me that goes beyond money. But I love you too, Tyler said desperately. You're my mother. I've always loved you. Well, you loved what I could do for you. The money I gave. The problems I solved. The sacrifices I made so your life would be easier. But me, the person I am, you never saw me at all. Khaled's assistant knocked and entered. He carried a folder. He whispered something in Arabic to Khaled. Khaled nodded seriously. What is it? He asked. The final information about their money situation, Khaled said. He opened the folder. It's worse than we thought. The hotel bill is nearly $13,000. They have debt on 4 credit cards. All opened in your name, Margaret. The cards they've been using since arriving in Dubai. My blood went cold. They opened credit cards in my name. Using your personal information. Your social security number. Your address. The applications were sent online 3 weeks before your trip. I stared at Tyler in horror. This wasn't something he decided suddenly. They planned this for weeks, maybe months. The loving son act. The insistence on this expensive vacation. The way they convinced me to hand over my bank card. It was all calculated from the start. You planned this, I whispered. This whole trip was a setup. Tyler's face crumpled. Mom, let me explain. Explain what? How you committed a crime. How you planned to abandon your elderly mother in a foreign country. We needed money, he burst out. Do you know how expensive everything is? The house payments. Rachel's student loans. The car payments. We're drowning. And you were just sitting on that retirement money doing nothing with it. That retirement money was so I wouldn't be a burden on anyone when I got old. The money I saved working extra shifts for 32 years. But you were going to leave it to me anyway, he said. Like that made everything okay. We just needed it sooner. The casual entitlement in his voice took my breath away. He genuinely believed he had a right to my money. My security. My future. You were never going to get anything, I said quietly. I changed my will 7 months ago. His face went white. What? I left everything to charity. To organizations that help single mothers. I saw too much of myself in them. Women struggling alone while the fathers of their children ran away. Rachel made a gasping sound. You can't be serious. Completely serious. The only thing you were going to get was my love and my respect. But you threw that away for a few $1,000s in stolen money. Tyler slumped in his chair. Like all the air went out of him. For the first time since this meeting began. He seemed to understand what he'd lost. We can fix this, he said desperately. I'll pay back every penny. We'll go to therapy. Work on our relationship. Please, Mom. Don't throw away 34 years over one mistake. One mistake. I repeated. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Tyler, you've been taking advantage of me for years. Every time you needed money for a business idea that failed. Every time Rachel wanted something expensive and you came crying to me about money problems. Every time you made me feel guilty for not doing more. Giving more. Sacrificing more. I stood up, suddenly feeling exhausted by all those years of manipulation and guilt. The only mistake I made was letting you take advantage of me for so long. But that stops today. Khaled stood beside me. His presence reminded me I wasn't alone anymore. I think this meeting is over, he said firmly. Miss Patterson has made her position very clear. Wait, Rachel said. Panic filled her voice. What about our hotel bill? What about getting home? You can't just leave us stuck here. I looked at her. This woman who helped plan my abandonment, who smiled while they stole from me, who was now demanding I rescue them from their own bad choices. Why not? Yes. You left me stuck. You figured I'd find a way to survive, didn't you? Well, now it's your turn. But we don't speak Arabic, she whined. We don't know anyone here. We don't have money. Then you'll learn what I learned 4 days ago. What it feels like to be helpless and alone in a foreign country. Wondering if anyone cares whether you live or die. Tyler tried one last desperate attempt. Mom, I know you're hurt. But you raised me better than this. You taught me about forgiveness. About second chances. I did teach you those things, I agreed. I also taught you about facing consequences. About treating people with respect. About basic human decency. Apparently you chose to ignore those lessons. Picked up my purse. I moved toward the door. Khaled followed. But I stopped at the doorway. The money you collected with your fake campaign about finding me. Donate it to charity. If you keep even 1 penny of it, I'll have Khaled's lawyers charge you with fraud in both countries. And the credit cards, Khaled added. We'll be contacting the banks this afternoon to report the identity theft. I suggest you find a way to pay those bills before the police get involved. As we left the room, I could hear Rachel crying. Tyler was begging her to stay calm. Their voices got quieter as we walked down the fancy hotel hallway. With each step I felt lighter. How do you feel? Khaled asked as we reached his car. I thought about the question carefully. How did I feel? Free. Relieved. Sad for the relationship that could have been but never was. And underneath it all, a deep sense of rightness. Like I'd finally stepped off a wrong path and onto the right one. I feel like I can breathe again, I said finally. For the first time in years, I feel like I can actually breathe. He squeezed my hand as his driver opened the car door. Then we made the right choice. As we drove away from the hotel, I didn't look back. Tyler and Rachel would figure out their problems, or they wouldn't. Either way, it wasn't my responsibility anymore. For the first time in my adult life, my only responsibility was to myself. 7 months later, I stood on the balcony of what was now our home. I watched the sunset over the water. The wedding ring on my finger caught the golden light. Still new enough to surprise me when I saw it. Mrs. Margaret Mansour. Even after all this time, it felt like a wonderful dream. Khaled found me there like he did most evenings. He wrapped his arms around me from behind. He rested his chin on my shoulder. What are you thinking about? He asked softly. Everything, I said. I leaned back against his warmth. 7 months ago, I was sleeping on a bench. Convinced my life was over. Now you're exactly where you belong, he finished. Where you always belonged. The change had been slow but amazing. Khaled kept his word about giving me space to adjust. Never pushing. Always patient. Our romance had been a beautiful surprise. Flowers appeared on my breakfast tray. Not because I expected them, but because he remembered I once said I loved jasmine. Books appeared in my room. Carefully chosen based on things I'd mentioned about my interests. He listened to everything I said. Like my words were precious treasures. The wedding was small but beautiful. Held in his private garden with only a few close friends and family. I wore a dress the color of cream. Khaled cried when he saw me walking toward him. 52 years old when we first met, he told me later. And he'd never cried at a wedding until his own. We honeymooned in Morocco. Staying in a beautiful old house in Marrakesh. Khaled showed me the markets. Taught me to shop for spices and fabrics. For the first time in my life, I had a partner who wanted to share experiences with me. Not someone who expected me to pay for everything and plan everything while they just enjoyed it. Any word from, he started to ask. Then stopped himself. From Tyler. Finished. You can say his name, Khaled. It doesn't hurt anymore. There had been word, actually. Quite a lot of it. Though I hadn't shared all the details with Khaled. Tyler and Rachel eventually made it back to the United States. But not without problems. The identity theft charges followed them home. Legal fees they couldn't afford. Credit problems that would follow them for years. The house they were struggling to pay for was taken by the bank. Rachel dropped out of school when they couldn't pay tuition anymore. Last I heard through friends back home, they were living in a tiny apartment, both working in stores. Tyler had written me several letters, each one more desperate than the last. The first was full of anger, accusing me of abandoning my family for money and status. The second tried manipulation, describing their troubles and begging me to remember my duty as a mother. The third was different, quieter, admitting some of what he did wrong, while still making excuses. I read them all, felt the familiar pull of guilt and responsibility, then put them away unanswered. That part of my life was finished. I heard from Betty yesterday, I told Khaled. Betty was my old neighbor from back home. She said Tyler came by the house, asking if I left any way to contact me. And she told him what I asked her to say. That I was happy and safe. That he should focus on his own life instead of mine. Khaled nodded approvingly. He never tried to tell me what to do about Tyler. But I knew he struggled with anger toward my son. The protective side I'd seen hints of when he was a student had grown into something fierce over the years. I have something to tell you, I said. I turned in his arms to face him. I've made a decision about the clinic. For months, Khaled had been encouraging me to think about working at the new women's health clinic he was building. Not because we needed money, but because he saw how much I missed nursing. Missed the sense of purpose from helping people. I want to do it, I said. But not as a worker. As a partner. His eyebrows went up. A partner. I want to use my retirement money to invest in it. Make it a joint project between us. I have ideas about how to set up the services. Ways to reach women who might not otherwise get care. Margaret, you don't need to invest your own money. I have more than enough to pay for the whole thing. No. But I want to contribute something that's mine. For 42 years, I defined myself by what I could do for other people. Now I want to build something because I choose to. 'Cause it matters to me. Not because someone else needs me to. He looked at my face carefully. Are you sure? Once that money is invested, it's not your safety net anymore. Smiled. Thinking about how different this conversation was from any I ever had with Tyler. Khaled wanted to make sure I was making the right choice for me. Not trying to convince me to give him access to my money. You're my safety net now, I said simply. You and this life we're building together. The money is just money. I'd rather use it to do something meaningful than let it sit in an account doing nothing. He kissed me then. Soft and sweet. Tasting of the mint tea we shared after dinner. When we stopped, his eyes were shiny with tears. I love you, he said. Not just for who you were 42 years ago. But for who you've become. For your strength. Your compassion. Your ability to start over when others would have given up. I love you too, I said. Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. That night we sat in our study, going over the clinic plans. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something made me check. It was from Tyler. I saw the announcement about your clinic in the newspaper. I'm proud of you, Mom. Hope you're happy. I stared at the message for a long time, waiting for the familiar guilt and sadness to wash over me. Instead, I felt something I hadn't expected. A kind of peaceful closure. I showed the message to Khaled. What do you think? I think he's learning to accept the situation, he said carefully. The question is, how do you feel about it? He thought for a moment, then typed back a simple response. Thank you. I'm happy. I didn't add anything about missing him or hoping he was well or suggesting we talk. Those would have been lies dressed up as kindness. Instead, I offered him the truth. I was happy. Happier than I'd been in many years. After I sent the message, I turned off my phone. I went back to the clinic plans. We worked until almost midnight, designing treatment rooms, discussing who we would hire, building something meaningful together. 4 years later, the Margaret Mansour Women's Health Center had become one of the most respected medical places in the area. We treated everyone, whether they could pay or not. From foreign wives struggling with sadness to local women needing health services. I'd found my purpose again, but this time on my own terms. No more tiring night shifts. No more choosing between work and rest. I set my own schedule, chose my own patients, had a husband who supported every decision I made. On quiet days, I sometimes thought about different realities. What if I'd been braver 42 years ago? What if I'd told Khaled how I felt before he left Chicago? What if I'd recognized Tyler's selfishness earlier and set boundaries when he was young enough to learn from them? But those thoughts no longer brought pain. Everything I experienced, every sacrifice I made, every heartbreak I endured, they all led me here. To this life, this love, this sense of completion I never imagined possible. Sometimes the greatest gifts come disguised as the worst betrayals. Tyler's cruelty set me free to discover what real love looked like. His abandonment led me back to the one person who never stopped believing I was worth cherishing. I was 64 years old when my life truly began. It's never too late to choose happiness over duty, love over obligation, yourself over everyone else's expectations. On my 65th birthday, Khaled surprised me with a small ceremony at the clinic. He'd had a sign made for the entrance, one that brought tears to my eyes, dedicated to women everywhere who found the courage to start over. As I read those words, I thought about the woman I'd been just a year before, exhausted, convinced my best years were behind me. She never could have imagined that her darkest moment would become the doorway to her greatest joy. The sun was setting over Dubai, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Khaled took my hand as we stood in front of our clinic. Our dream made real. Any regrets? He asked softly. I thought about Tyler, probably sitting in his small apartment somewhere, still wondering how his perfect plan backfired so badly. I thought about all the years I wasted feeling guilty for wanting something more than sacrifice. Only one, I said finally. I regret that it took me so long to realize I deserve to be happy. He squeezed my hand. We walked home together through the cooling desert air. Two people who found their way back to each other after 42 years of searching. Sometimes love waits. Sometimes it's worth the wait. Now I want to know about you who listened to my story. What would you do if you were in my place? Have you ever been through something similar? Leave a comment below. And while you're here, I'm putting 2 other stories on the screen. They're favorites on this channel. They will definitely surprise you. Thank you for watching until the end. This is Granny's voice reminding you that it's never too late to choose yourself. It's never too late to find the love you deserve. It's never too late to start your life over. My name is Margaret Mansour. And at 68 years old, I can honestly say I've never been happier. The boy who threw me away gave me the greatest gift of all. He set me free to find my true family. The man who waited 42 years for me. The life I was always meant to live. Thank you for listening to my story. May you find the courage to choose happiness when your moment comes. 'Cause it will come. And when it does, I hope you're brave enough to grab it with both hands and never let go. God bless you all.